Good morning. It's Friday, June 2nd, and I have good news. This is good news that took place on Wednesday, but I didn't get a chance to review all the facts, and so here I am talking about it this morning. Turns out that the House of Representatives finally passed a debt limit bill. And they said, at least the Democrats said, that they needed 150 Republicans to help them pass this bill. Well, they didn't get 150 Republicans to help. They only got 149, but that was enough. So the final tally was 314 representatives for the bill and 117 against. And there were 71 Republicans and 46 Democrats voting against the bill. And I cannot understand why we have so many congressmen voting against this bill. That's a lot of people that voted against this bill. It's a small minority that were unhappy with the bill. And why? Why do they want us to spend so much money or not spend so much money? It is not clear to me why we have this terrible situation. We spend lots of money. We owe lots of money. We have to pay our debt. So in my mind, there is no reason for us to hold it up. Now, if we need to get more money or spend less money, we have to work on that all the time. We have to constantly keep working on that. But we don't. So we passed debt limit. It's going to remain intact until January 1st of 2025. But it's not finished yet, because this has to go to the Senate for approval. And in the Senate, one senator could hold it up. And if there's one senator that decides to make a ruckus about this thing and we don't get it passed by June 5th, that's Monday, then we will be in a lot of trouble. And we could face some kind of default, some kind of collapse in our economy. And we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people who could be out of work for a while. The government might have to shut down. Of course, essential services will continue, but the average person won't. So this is a terrible situation to have ourselves in. Think about Social Security payments being delayed, right? 1.4 million active duty members of the military and more than 2 million federal civilian workers could be affected by this whole thing. And I'm not sure that there isn't one senator who could step to the plate and do something dangerous. And we've seen Joe Manchin do that. And then there are other ones out there in the Senate who are liable to do the same thing. Because they all have an axe to grind of some kind. So the bill maintains the debt limit at $31.4 trillion through January 1st, 2025. And many politicians and many observers have said that this won't be an issue in the 2024 election. At least that's what they're predicting. But it still might be an issue if people decide that we want to know what's going to happen by the guy who gets elected president. Is he going to try to do something about the debt limit in the future? So while it won't necessarily affect the election directly, indirectly, this exercise that we are going through now could conceivably affect the 2024 election. And the debt ceiling also suspends U.S. borrowing. It's maintaining the limit as it stands right now. And that's going to stay that way until after the next election. Now, of course, this has to be voted on by the U.S. lawmakers, but there's no question about it that they're going to vote to okay that part of the deal. The bill also caps non-defense spending. I don't know why we worry so much about defense. We keep spending more and more money on defense and everything else can go to pot. But nevertheless, it suspends non-defense spending. And that's what funds our public education and our transportation and many other civil services. And so those things are put aside in favor of keeping our defense strong. And I'm not so sure that's the correct thing to do all the time, to continue spending billions of dollars on defense. Maybe we have to with the shape of the world, but I'm not so sure about that. So everything's going to remain the same right now at the same levels until January 1, 2025, and then our non-defense spending can increase by 1%. That doesn't sound like much, but when you're looking at $704 billion, of which $121 billion would be put aside for veterans' medical care, and $583 billion would be used in other areas. But there could be adjustments to these things, and it might run up to like $637 billion for the coming fiscal year, or $638 billion. I think they keep throwing these numbers around, but they're huge. They're huge numbers. And then there's $11 billion that's set aside for unobligated COVID-19 relief funds, and $10 billion in money shifted from the Internal Revenue Service to beef up some other non-defense discretionary spending. So they're tossing around billions and billions of dollars in this bill in every single direction, and I'm not sure where it really ends up. But the bottom line is, we're not going to increase our spending until 2025. So we've got the debt ceiling through, and now it depends on what the Senate does. So temporarily, we have avoided an unprecedented debt default. For the moment, it's not a done deal yet. And I believe going forward, we have to figure out how to eliminate our debt altogether. Why can't we run a country and always be in the chips without owing tons and tons of money? But for some reason, people don't think that way. At least our government isn't thinking that well. We ought to be able to have a stable monetary situation at all times. And maybe we got to look at our tax laws once again and figure out how to get ourselves more and more money from those who manage to legally avoid paying all their taxes. So I leave you with that crazy situation this morning. Have a great day. Bye.